Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna look at, I would say, some VOR challenges. I got some questions about, okay, hey, sometimes when I set up the VOR it doesn't work, right? It doesn't point me into the right direction. To be honest, I also faced that issue, and I also looked into it to figure out what's happening during those, I would say, situations. Because that's, I would say, kind of unexpected, right? So what I've did is I've opened Navigraph, right, which is the, I would say, paid add-on, which you can use to, I would say, find out navigation beacons, but also find flight routes like these one, right, the high and the lower ones. And on this map you will see multiple beacons. The same thing would happen if I press the V from Victor, right? That opens the VFR map from Flight Simulator itself. It always takes some time before it's loaded. And there you will also find the beacons. So you see RTM. And when I zoom out you can also find the other ones. Very likely, not always. So be aware of that. For example, Papa Alpha Mike. And here we've got Simon Papa Lima and Alpha Mike Sierra. So you can see we've got multiple ones here, but I'm gonna use the Navigraph for now. So what I've done is I've programmed the navigation radio, right, the GNS 530, and I've set it to 110.40, which is the RTM one. And the RTM one, you can always check it, right, because below this is the Morse code. So you need to, I would say, increase the volume a bit for it. And then when I'm very silent, or when you hear very clear, you hear the Morse code of the radio, right? So that's cool. So we know that we've got the correct one, so I'm switching it off because it will continue to beep, and that's something we probably will not be happy about. So if we look at the steering wheel, right, we can see this nice piece of art, which can be used, I would say, to navigate or to fly to the beacon. So in this case, right, you can see that we're not completely flying straight to it, so we need to, let's say, we can turn the needle either this way or the other way, and then eventually it will come into the center, which means that if we would fly in this direction, which is approximately 50 degrees, we would fly straight to this beacon. So let's do that. But before that, I want to show you something, I would say, weird, or maybe not weird, but maybe unexpected. So in this case, what you see is RTM. It shows the let's say the radius, it shows the distance, but I've also programmed 117.80, and 117.80 belongs to Papa Alpha Mike. In this case, what you will see is if we would switch, it won't show me anything currently. In some situations that's because it will detect it when you are in the air. In some instances it doesn't detect it correctly, I would say, when you're on the ground. In some other cases you are, depends on how close you are. But what you see is that this one now switches to nav, right? So this means, hey, I'm not sure what it's doing, but hey, it doesn't work. So I tried to figure out what's causing it. And what's causing it is that, at least in the Netherlands, they're decommissioning the VOR beacons. However, those beacons are still being used for DME, right? Distance measure equipment. Which results in that if you look in the navigation system, the distance is in most cases displayed. However, the RAD is always empty. So you can't use that VOR beacon. And I would say the reason due to it is that they say, okay, hey, we're gonna replace it with GPS, right? Which makes sense because a lot of let's say airplanes can use GPS, so that's the reason. So let's go airborne now and see if we can get the distance for that, because you will see that that piece will work. So you can remove the parking brakes. And while we're driving, I'm gonna switch back the radio to Rotterdam. Throttle back. Watch out if there's nothing coming. Whoop. Here we go. And we're airborne. And what you will see is that now we are flying straight to it, right? You need to change the OBS here, the OBS needle. So let me zoom into it a bit further to correct the range. So this should be the range, and if we would fly this course, then we would fly straight over that RTM beacon, right? So let me also open Navigraph again, so you can see it. So actually we're almost flying over it. So what you will see is that the needle will soon start to make a turn, and then I would say we'll change to a different method, and that's that we're flying away from the waypoint, right? So be aware of that. So if you're very close to one, don't make too much adjustments, because it doesn't make any sense. As also explained in the manual, or in the, I would say, tutorial of the built-in flight simulator lessons. So it shows us now that we're moving away from it, right? So we're flying away from the beacon. So that makes sense. So let's switch again to that PAM. And in this case, you can see what I already mentioned is that it now shows me the exact distance to PAM. The only hard thing, of course, is that I really don't know, okay, where is that beacon located, because it doesn't show me any information. If you're lucky, then it will show it, or you will have some, I would say, legacy information, for example, some legacy flight maps, which will help you. If you're, I would say, screwed, like we currently are, then you might not have this information, and you need to, let's say, use the VFR map, or use the built-in navigation display like this. Right, because if we would look at this one, it still shows us PAM. Wow, doesn't show it very close. So probably we can't show it as we look at it. But this is the reason. So in this case, what we can tell is, hey, this one or this beacon has DME equipment, but it doesn't have, I would say the VOR functionality anymore. So let's move to a different country. So I skipped a piece of the video because I didn't want to make you wait. So I moved to Germany. So, and in Germany, I'm at Echo Delta Romeo Yankee. And you probably want to know now what the airport name is. Well, the airport name is Spire. It's a small airport, and it has a lot of beacons close to it. So what I did is I configured a specific beacon, and that's Kilo Romeo Hotel, which is here. That's Karlsruhe, and this one has, if I click it right, it has VOR DME details. So it's both VOR and DME, and if we would look here, we probably would see that we can move the needle, although we need to switch to VLOC if we're lucky. In this case we're not lucky because it also doesn't show us the direction yet. So let's first go airborne and see what happens. So maybe you saw it, but probably you didn't because it's very small. So now we're airborne. You can see that it has now populated all the fields. So both the VOR, the ARD and the DIS, which means that we now can use this one to say find the course which we need to fly. Sometimes it's really frustrating scrolling the wheel, but hey, that's it. I need to watch out because I've been told that there is some restricted area here because there's a nuclear power center here, or power plant here. You can see that if we would fly like this, then we should be in the correct direction. So let's do that. Let's adjust it a bit. And again, you can see that it's now populated, right? So that's cool. So let's find another one because there are more beacons in this area. For example, here we've got another one. Also VOR DME 109.2. So we're going to use the small knobs again. I said. Let's see if it recognizes this one already. And here you can also see it directly populates the data. So in Germany there are a lot of more VORs which are still, I would say, active compared to the Netherlands. But it could be that in a country which you're flying that there are even more or maybe even less beacons available which you can use for navigation purposes. So keep that in mind. So if you do have a VOR beacon configured, or at least you think you configured a VOR beacon, don't be surprised that it only shows the distance to it, because a lot of countries are decommissioning those VOR beacons because they're relying on GPS. And in those situations they will only leave the DME equipment on. And that really has a lot of impact if you're using, I would say, this kind of navigation, because you saw it, right? If we switch to a beacon which doesn't have the VOR, you won't get any directions. So be aware of that. It's not an issue with Flight Simulator, I should say. It's actually, would say, pretty realistic, because that's also how it is in the world, right? If you would look for the National Flight Authority in your country, they normally have a list of, okay, hey, these are the beacons and these are the functionalities which are available. And in several scenarios you will see, okay, hey, this is the beacon, but oh, the VOR piece is decommissioned and only the DME part works. Using Navigraph, it was easy to identify, right? Because you can simply click on it and then it will show VOR or only DME. However, using the VFR map, I didn't figure, I would say, an easy way out yet. So let me show you. So right, so here's the I think the first problem of the VFR map that it also always is a delay. So you can see KRH here, and we can see several other ones, but as we saw in the Netherlands, the PAM was also still visible, but it simply didn't work. It was even having the same icon. It would be really nice if they would, let's say, show the icon correctly so that you can directly spot, hey, this is a beacon which only has DME capacity and not the VOR capacity. So here ends this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it was clear for you. If you've got any questions related to this, then please let me know by leaving a comment in the comment box below the video. If you want to stay up to date about my videos, then make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And if you like this one, then of course press the like button. Thanks for watching and see you next time.